Good afternoon or good morning, depending on when you're watching this. Let's talk coffee real quick, okay? What if I told you that most coffee orders are disastrous for you as the driver? I reject most coffee orders. I just got done with one this morning, as a matter of fact. And the reason I explain this is that I will explain that the packaging on almost all coffee merchants is trash. This is a case of a cold drink that was inside of one of those really cheap old styrofoam. I mean, not even styrofoam. Not even cardboard. I don't even know what to call it because it's that cheap. The drink didn't fit. The drinks, they tried to squeeze it in the hole there in the crate, but then it spilled sideways when I put it into my car, and it spilled all over my seat. I managed to keep about half. By the time I got it pulled back up and put back into the crate, I was able to save about half of it. And the other drink was undamaged because it stayed inside of the cup holder. It's not even styrofoam, it's not even cardboard. I can't remember what the cheap material is called. Help me in the comments if you happen to remember. But it's kind of beige colored, cheap material. This was an independent coffee shop here in Forest Lake. It also applies to Starbucks, by the way. It applies to Caribou. They all use the same crap old packaging that is liable to spill in your vehicle, and in a couple cases in my past, spill on the customer's porch because it doesn't stand up or stay straight. So with that said, there is one coffee shop I will continue to accept because their packaging is light years above the others. Ready? It's Dunkin'. Dunkin' has phenomenal packaging. The packaging stays inside of the bag. There's kind of like a cup holder within the bag itself. They'll drop the drink inside of there, and then the bag seals at the top, and they pull out the strip, seal the entire bag. The cup fits inside of the internal cup holder within the bag, snug, and because it's inside of a bag, it's not going to spill. And they also have a lid covering that stays over the drink hole. So Dunkin' is really the only place I'm going to pick up coffee orders from this day going forward. There's just no reason to pick up Starbucks, Caribou, or the independent shop that we have here in town, because those have all resulted in disasters. And you know what happens when you get spilled drinks? You get lower ratings. And unfortunately, this is an Uber order, so that the tip can't be reduced for me anymore. Although back in before last week, it could. You know, you could have gotten tip reduced for a spilled drink or losing half a drink. Fortunately, that policy got remedied about 2 weeks ago. You can't anymore. But what it can do on either DoorDash or Uber is your rating can absolutely take a punishing hit. So I don't accept coffee orders anymore outside of Dunkin', because the packaging is just horrific outside of that. Let me know in the comments if your town has an independent coffee shop that does better in this regard, but we simply do not. And Starbucks and Caribou, until they have better packaging. You know, I had my most recent Starbucks order was several weeks ago. That's how long I've been rejecting those. But that drink spilled on the customer's front door. They called me later to complain about it. It was a DoorDash. They couldn't reduce the tip, but they certainly downrated me for it. So there is my 411 on coffee orders. Given that I just got done with it and it's fresh in my mind, I decided to record this now. but you need to reject those as much as possible. Again, unless it's worth like $3 a mile, in which case I would just be super careful in dealing with that cheap styrofoam packaging, cheap cup holder trays. But barring that, it's not worth the risk. I reject everything but Dunkin'. Dunkin' is the one I keep. Those are the keepers. At least as long as I can get my $1.44 per mile. Which again, in my market, accounts for 72 cents per mile, both directions. Almost all of our trips go out of town, so I will come back empty every time. Go back to previous videos to explain that I do have one exception to this, one direction from Forest Lake, and that is south. Because a lot of times I can catch one back north. But most of the market outside of that, I do need $1.44 a mile to break even. But that said, I will call this good for now. I'll be back tonight with a different one, but I thought I'd throw this one as a fresh midday episode while I still have this on my mind. And while the coffee is still soaking in my seat. That is it for now. I will talk to you tonight. Peace out, homies.